Welcome to AI Dispatch, your channel for the latest AI videos on YouTube. If you don't want to miss these updates, please like, subscribe, and share. Today's video comes from EO, featuring Rylan Hamilton, CEO of Blue Water Autonomy. He opens with a data point that forces immediate recalibration of US naval strategy. China's shipbuilding capacity now stands at over 230 times that of the United States. His conclusion is direct. The traditional arms race is mathematically unwinnable, and the only viable path forward requires abandoning steel for silicon. This episode examines his framework on autonomous warfare, ship design philosophy, and the leadership principles that emerge when survival depends on radically different thinking. Rylan Hamilton presents a number that immediately destabilizes conventional defense planning. China's shipbuilding capacity reportedly exceeds that of the United States by a factor of 230 to 1. Most defense strategists respond to this gap with calls for increased funding, expanded shipyards, and industrial mobilization to close the manufacturing deficit. Hamilton takes the opposite position. He maintains that attempting to compete on raw tonnage when outnumbered 230 to 1 constitutes strategic failure. You cannot win by replicating your opponent's approach at a smaller scale. His alternative centers on shifting the competitive axis entirely from physical production to software dominance. The US must concede the manufacturing race to dominate the autonomy race. This is not about enhancing ships with technology. It is about accepting that measuring naval power by counting manned hulls no longer functions when the industrial mathematics favor your competitor by orders of magnitude. This reasoning leads directly to his position on how autonomous vessels must be constructed. The standard assumption in maritime engineering is that autonomy means retrofitting existing ships, cargo vessels, destroyers with sensors, and AI control systems. It appears cost-effective and logical. Hamilton rejects this model as fundamentally flawed. His reasoning exposes a structural dependency most people overlook. Current ship designs are not self-sufficient machines. They are fragile ecosystems that require constant human intervention. Engineers continuously patrol decks, tightening valves, repairing minor leaks, and resetting breakers. The vessel is engineered with the embedded assumption that a human will intervene when a single point of failure occurs. Therefore, simply removing the crew while leaving the ship unchanged guarantees hardware failure long before software failure. Hamilton's position is that genuine autonomous warships cannot be modified legacy platforms. They require complete redesign from the keel upward to eliminate the thousands of failure points that humans currently manage. This represents a shift from making ships intelligent to constructing ships that operate without human maintenance. He envisions vessels as software-defined platforms, comparable to a Waymo vehicle, rather than hardware systems that happen to include a computer. This logic extends to the mission profiles these ships execute. Hamilton highlights the absurdity embedded in current mine hunting operations. Today, navies deploy ships carrying 400 sailors to locate naval mines, essentially risking 400 lives to find devices designed to destroy them. He maintains this violates basic operational logic. There is no tactical justification for placing hundreds of human lives in a minefield when an autonomous system can perform the same function. This is not merely an efficiency improvement, it is a fundamental correction to how navies deploy biological personnel. Shifting from the engineering of warfare to the structure of command, Hamilton offers a perspective that inverts traditional leadership hierarchies. In most organizations, particularly within military frameworks, leadership is understood as a top-down function. The officer stands on the bridge, assesses the situation, and issues orders. Hamilton acknowledges that early in his career, this mindset caused him to fail. He introduces the concept of deck plate leadership, which contradicts the idea that a leader's value derives from strategic distance. He maintains that real authority is not conferred by rank but earned through shared hardship with the team. When a ship loses steering or an engine room floods, the leaders should not remain in the control room. They should be on the wet, oil-covered deck plates alongside junior sailors. This runs counter to corporate delegation principles. Hamilton's position is that you cannot understand the friction your team encounters unless you are physically present in the chaos. Trust is not constructed through competence alone, but through shared exposure to difficulty. He connects this directly to execution speed in startup environments. He treats trust not as a cultural value, but as a hard efficiency metric. His theory is that distrust generates contingency buffers. When teams lack trust, they pad schedules, conceal potential failure points, and construct defensive layers to avoid blame. This creates organizational drag. By establishing high trust, often through direct participation in difficult work, you eliminate the need for these buffers. The conceptual shift here is treating trust as a mechanism for removing wasted time rather than simply a morale tool. Finally, Hamilton offers a strict rule regarding transparency that contradicts the human instinct for self-preservation. Bad news does not get better over time. In both naval operations and high-stakes startups, the natural human response to a critical error is to conceal it, attempt to fix it quietly, or delay reporting until a solution is found. Hamilton maintains this is a fatal mistake. He treats bad news as compounding debt. The longer a problem remains hidden, the more interest it accumulates in the form of wasted resources and misaligned planning based on false information. He demands an environment where transparency is radical and immediate. This contradicts standard corporate etiquette, where presentation often takes priority over reality. For Hamilton, the only way to survive the chaos of the ocean or the market is to eliminate the polite fiction that everything proceeds according to plan. Because as he learned when Iranian missiles were fired during his first carrier transfer, plans rarely survive contact with reality. Hamilton's analytical method follows a consistent pattern. He systematically discards how things are supposed to function to focus on how things actually operate, whether acknowledging the US cannot outbuild China, recognizing that ships are too fragile to operate unmanned without total redesign, or insisting that officers belong in the engine room. He prioritizes uncomfortable reality over comforting tradition. The question is, as the geopolitical landscape shifts toward autonomous systems, can we abandon our traditional models of power and leadership with sufficient speed to survive the transition? If you're interested in the video featured in this episode, click the link below to watch the original.